Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. When President William Samoei Ruto ascended to power, he took a paradigm shift from what his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta believed in, and he began doing away with most of whatever had been initiated and sustained by Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. I have always mentioned on this channel that the first directive was to lift the ban on GMO that Uhuru had sustained for 10 years, that he was the president. And William Ruto was listening and obeying the directives of the Bretton Woods institutions. And one of the areas that was really affected was the subsidies. Remember when Uhuru Kenyatta left, we had subsidies on unga, I think, subsidies on fuel, and even on school fees, if I'm not wrong. But the IMF had directed that Ruto does away with the subsidies and instead replaces all the subsidies with high taxes. And I understand that that has been the policy of the Bretton Woods institutions in all the other countries that they give aid to. And it seems that William Ruto and subsidies is like water and paraffin. They don't meet anywhere. And William Ruto continues to explain that they could not sustain subsidizing consumption because it is not sustainable. And instead they said they could only subsidize production. They gave an example of subsidizing fertilizers so that they encourage food production. Whether that works or not, I don't know. But this time round, William Ruto has touched on a very precarious topic that has grabbed headlines. In 2002, there was a subsidy program that was initiated among the disciplined forces at the military, and they were subsidizing lunch. In fact, they were giving lunch for free to our KDF soldiers. But when William Ruto got to power, he constituted a committee to look into the merits and the demerits of this program where our soldiers were getting free lunch. And that committee gave its recommendation to the service commanders, that is the head of Navy, the head of Air Force, and the head of the Kenya Army. And some of the recommendations, if you ask me, are very flimsy. And they concluded that they must abolish this exchequer funded lunch, and they want to replace it with what we call pay as you eat. In other words, the KDF will now pay for their lunch. And this is starting at the end and the beginning of a new financial year in 1st July. Now, I want us to look at some of the recommendations that were given by this committee and tell me whether you agree with this recommendation. As we look at it, allow me to request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell. This will allow YouTube to notify you whenever we release a video like this. Please like and share our video. It goes a long way in promoting our videos, and thank you very much to those who support us in one way or the other. Ladies and gentlemen, now one of the recommendations that they're giving is that this program denies the soldiers the privilege and the access to a variety of foods that suit their preferences. That, for example, in this program, if it is indicated that on Monday they will be taking rice and meat, that is what they will take. And they're saying that sometimes some soldiers may want to, for example, on Monday when people are taking rice and meat, they might decide that for us, we just want some ugali and mboga. And so they're saying that this denies them an opportunity to get to variety of foods that suit their preferences. And I don't know why some people are saying that this denies them that access to varieties when they themselves are not complaining. Number two, they're saying that this program leads to loss of working time because there are long queues when the soldiers are lining up to take the meal. Surely, can that be? Those who went to maybe boarding school in primary and maybe at any level, you understand that students and pupils will always line for food, and they are always very much organized, that there is no loss of academic time or something. So if pupils and students have been so much trained well that they know how to conduct themselves when they are queuing for food, how much more do we feel that the KDF, the disciplined forces who have been trained, will maximize the use of time during during lunchtime to ensure that there is no loss of working time. I don't believe this recommendation, even though I was not part of the committee, but I feel that this recommendation is very flimsy. Number three, they're saying that there is a lot of rationing and inconveniences when other soldiers are assigned duties everywhere. For example, if you have 1,000 soldiers in this military camp, let's say, for example, in Lanet, and then 200 of them have been assigned duty, maybe they've gone for training in Lamu. That leaves Lanet with 800 soldiers. And the recommendation is saying that since it has been planned that you are cooking or providing food for 1,000 soldiers, when 200 leave for training or they've been assigned duties, then you have to now look at how you ration to fit the 800 soldiers, because they are no longer 1,000. And they are also counting this as part of the reasons why they recommend that this should be abolished. I mean, how difficult is that really? And then the last one, they're saying that this will help them to align government budgetary allocation, and it is going to save taxpayers money about 2 to 3 billion Kenya shillings in a financial year. And they want to set the common wananchi, I mean the military, against the common wananchi, because some people will now say, okay, if this is going to save some billions of shillings, then I think it is the best thing that ever happened. But the question that comes in, we have a lot of wastage, we have a lot of corruption in the country. Those are not my words. I have always echoed the words of the independent institutions that we pay to look into how prudent we use taxpayers' money. And the Office of the Auditor General, together with the Office of the Controller of Budget, tell us that there's a lot of corruption and a lot of wastage in the country. For example, just last week, there was this headline that Rigathi Gachagua was removed because apparently he had demanded some exorbitant fee for the renovation of his offices. But ever since he left, we are told that the fee that he was demanding has shot in the era of the new deputy president Kithure Kindiki. He's even demanding more than what Rigathi was demanding. There is current renovation of State House going on. I read somewhere that William Ruto has adopted a new style of roofing, a flat style. Yes, a flat style. And this is going to cost taxpayers' money quite a lot. Of course, we could talk of funding into the first and second ladies' office, all those that we've talked about. We have William Ruto and the entire government is now traveling both locally and internationally. The other day, when they went to the Western tour, we saw the convoy, a fleet of vehicles, guzzlers, and people are saying, why all this? Because then William Ruto had promised during the Gen Z protest that he was going to cut down on unnecessary cost. So why don't we look into such instead of going for the KDF? We know we can simply seal the loopholes that are used as conduits of corruption instead of going directly to the KDF to interfere with their budget. I could be wrong, but I feel we should not target civil servants or people in offices, because we can always sustain them if the money was being used correctly. And so the KDF are also brothers and sisters in this country, and they know just how much corruption is rampant and has been entrenched in this country. So that when you target them, there is a lot of disquiet. And as we speak, it's reported that there is a lot of disquiet a lot of tension, and they are not very happy. Now, you know, in every country, every president would always ensure that the last thing they would want to do is to have a sour relationship between the office of the president and the military. That has always been the biggest blunder that any president would do. So, what could be the consequences? The biggest consequence here is this: William Ruto has fallen out with many Kenyans. And even as people speak, many experts believe that we're sitting on a time bomb. Do you know that the Finance Bill 2024 that was rejected, that led Gen Zs to the streets, was sneaked in through the back door when John Mbadi was assigned into the office of the docket of the finance, is the CS of finance or treasury, and part of it was signed the other day by William Samoei Ruto. It was they were passed in Parliament. Abductions are still going on in the country. The cost of living is rising up. There's unemployment. Investors are running away. All this combined together, ladies and gentlemen, with the allies of William Samoei Ruto telling us that William Ruto will be re-elected by hook or crook. The other time, you saw a member of parliament insulting Kenyans who are trying to critique William Samoei Ruto. You've seen some saying that William Ruto will rule for 24 years. All these are recipe for disaster, and people can go back to the streets. Let me tell you, in every country, when people go to the streets, sometimes the police is overwhelmed, and William Ruto or every president would always depend on the military. And so it is feared that if William Ruto takes this trajectory, then in the event that people will go back to the streets, the KDF will protect wananchi. This is what happened. I remember when Jesus went to the streets, sometimes back, the military were removed from their military camp, and wananchi welcomed them, and they were very happy. You know, they escorted them. They even tried to border their vehicles. People were very happy. So if William Ruto continues on this direction, because already there is tension and anxiety about this decision, it is a blunder, then if people go to the street, many fear that he can easily be toppled, because those who are supposed to be his defense are already very angry with him. Number two, the KDF is charged with the responsibility of protecting us against external forces. When another country tries to interfere with our sovereignty, then the KDF would come in. They are also responsible for protecting Kenya against terrorists like Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda. I have a feeling that the KDF might go on a go-slow. I remember there was a time when William Ruto disbanded the SS unit, the Special Service Unit, that he accused of killing people and throwing into River Yala. And he criticized the police. He attacked the police, and there was a go-slow. People are being mugged anyhow because the police, our policemen are going through hardship. If you look at some of the residential places, the salary that they're being given, and instead of appreciating them, William Ruto, who is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces, started criticizing and attacking them. And they decided, if you don't feel our value, our worth, then let us stay calm when people are being mugged, and you will know just how special we are. So if KDF decides to go on a go-slow, then you will hear terrorist attacks in the country, and they will be very quiet. That is, they decide to show their displeasure in that manner, and people will suffer. It is you and I who will suffer, and this is not very good. William Ruto must not go to this direction because it will cost him. Let him look on how he can stop corruption, because if this is stopped and wasted, I can assure you that they can still fund the KDF lunch under the subsidy. They can pay doctors and pay teachers. There's a lot of money in our country, but it is going into individuals' pockets. And The KDF are not the only, they are not the new visitors in town. They understand and they know what is happening. I don't know what to think about this, but many experts feel that William Ruto has made a blunder. He needs to relook into this and retreat, because you do not interfere with the KDF, especially when your relationship with Wananchi is that which is not very cordial, when there's a lot of complaint about your government. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if I were William Ruto, I would look into other ways, not increasing taxes, not going for, the KDF. Already, the civil servants are crying foul about the housing levy. The employees are not very happy, and William Ruto is adding salt to injury. If people would go to the streets this time round, it will be uncontrollable, because he continues to anger many people. If this is a program that had been there since 2000, Kibaki sustained it for the 2 terms he was in office. Uhuru Kenyatta sustained it for the 2 terms that he was in office. William Ruto, within only 2 years, he forms a committee, and the recommendation are that we do away with it. Perhaps the only other committee that I saw that was rushed was the committee that was looking into the conduct of the Cherera 4. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Because for me, this is a recipe for disaster. Kindly share with me in the comment section.